Have you ever wondered why some people evolve quietly, while others stay stuck, repeating the same frustrations, chasing the same approval, never quite breaking through? Here's the truth most people miss. Real transformation doesn't happen when you're explaining yourself. It doesn't come from being louder, faster, or more visible. It happens in silence, in the early mornings, in disciplined decisions, in the quiet work that rewires you from the inside out. And this is where Stoicism hits hardest. It doesn't tell you to perform. It tells you to build, to focus, to develop an inner strength so solid the world can't shake it. Today, we're diving into why silence isn't weakness, it's strategy, and how focusing on yourself without needing to be seen unlocks a kind of clarity most people never experience. The people who truly shape their lives know something most of the world ignores. They don't live in explanation mode. While others argue, defend, justify, and seek approval, they build quietly, relentlessly, with calm certainty. They've learned to find peace in progress, meaning in discipline. And here's the paradox. The less they say, the more powerful they seem. There's something magnetic about people who operate in silence. Their presence speaks. As Plato said, wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools because they have to say something. Silence isn't about muting your voice. It's about making sure what you say has weight. But what makes silence so powerful? It's not just avoiding drama. It's not just staying out of arguments. Real silence is not the absence of speech. It's the presence of depth. When you step away from constant stimulation, your brain doesn't shut down. It recalibrates. In that stillness, something shifts. You start seeing yourself clearly. The fog lifts. Patterns emerge. Clarity forms. As Carl Jung said, who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Silence wakes you up. And that's why most people avoid it. Because silence is honest. It brings up doubt, insecurity, unfinished thoughts. So instead of facing it, people scroll, argue, distract themselves. But avoidance has a cost. Unprocessed thoughts don't disappear. They fragment your focus. They quietly drain your energy. And soon you feel exhausted, even if you've done nothing meaningful. We've been trained to equate visibility with value. More attention, more importance. But Aristotle warned us long before social media existed. The ultimate value of life depends upon awareness and the power of contemplation. Constant attention-seeking keeps your mind reactive. Silence makes it reflective. Ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped reacting? If you stopped explaining and simply moved? You would reclaim mental energy. You would save bandwidth, and that energy could go into mastery. Because your brain isn't built to process thousands of opinions daily. It's built to focus. When overwhelmed by noise, clarity fades. And without clarity, you hesitate. You second-guess. You lose trust in yourself. That erosion is more dangerous than failure. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for focus, planning, discipline, thrives in clarity. When you give it silence, it strengthens, and from that strengthening emerges control. But control isn't dominance, it's self-mastery. As Aristotle put it, what lies in our power to do lies in our power not to do. Not to react, not to prove, not to perform. Your identity isn't built by what you say, it's built by what you repeatedly do. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." Every time you wake early, resist distraction, honor a promise to yourself. You wire discipline into your nervous system. You aren't acting disciplined, you're becoming disciplined. Here's something most people misunderstand. Motivation isn't external, it's neurological. Dopamine doesn't reward applause, it rewards progress. Reading one more page, running one more mile, finishing what you started. But here's the danger. When you announce your goals too early, your brain releases dopamine as if you've already accomplished them. You feel rewarded without earning it, and that kills discipline. Plato said, "The beginning is the most important part of the work." If you waste your energy announcing, you weaken the beginning. The alternative? Say less, do more. Let action build identity. Real transformation isn't cinematic, it's repetitive. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. Goals are emotional, systems are structural. When you wake at the same time, train consistently, work even when you don't feel inspired. You stop depending on motivation. You rely on rhythm. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. Habits are built in silence. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Growth separates you from old versions of yourself, and sometimes from people attached to that version. Can you evolve without applause, without understanding, without validation? If you can, you become internally untouchable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." There is power in that simplicity. No announcement, no narration, just execution. Lions don't announce themselves. Surgeons don't yell in operating rooms. Silence is presence. It's focused energy. When you choose silence over reaction, something changes in your brain. The gap between stimulus and response grows. That gap is power. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Silence makes the unconscious visible. And when you face it, instead of numbing it, you grow. Attention is biological energy. Neurotransmitters like norepinephrine and acetylcholine fuel focus, but they're limited. Every unnecessary argument, every scroll session, every distraction spends that energy. Silence preserves it, and preserved energy turns into precision. When you pause instead of reacting, your mind shifts from stress mode to strategy mode. Silence looks still from the outside, but internally it's restructuring you. Imagine waking up with clarity. Not chasing approval, not obsessing over being understood, just alignment. When your actions match your values daily, confidence becomes internal. You stop needing praise because, your dopamine system recalibrates. It stops spiking for notifications. It starts responding to progress. That's when transformation becomes stable. Plato said, "The first and best victory is to conquer self." That victory is silent, the habit of excellence. Excellence isn't dramatic. It's structured. It's repetition. The Stoics trained body and mind together because discipline in the body strengthens discipline in thought. When you train physically, you train endurance. When you sit in silence, you train emotional regulation. When you resist reaction, you train character. At first, silence feels uncomfortable. Routine feels restrictive. You'll want to announce your progress. But that's ego asking for validation. Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart." Silence forces you inward, and that's where transformation begins. Have you noticed something? The people with real gravity in a room are often the quietest. Not because they're passive, but because they're coherent. They're not fragmented. They're not performing. They've done the internal work. Socrates said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." Silence lets you build. Eventually, your consistency becomes visible, but by then recognition won't matter. Because your reward isn't applause, it's alignment, peace, strength, clarity, earned in silence. Real transformation isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It's steady, deliberate, built from the inside out. Silence isn't weakness. It's where real strength begins. It's in those unseen hours, when no one is watching, that you shape the version of yourself the world eventually can't ignore. You don't need to announce every step. Just keep taking them. Stay steady. Stay focused. And when you're ready, come back. We'll be right here.